Hey guys, it's Chris Lang here. On today's video, I'm going to be installing our taillight fuel filler on the 88 to 98 GM truck. So follow along as we get into it. I am installing this taillight fuel filler on the passenger side. We do offer a driver's side version. You just need to select which one you want. For the driver's side, the installation will be the same, just have to mirror it. The first series of cuts that I'm going to do are along this bottom edge. I'm going to go a straight line. And then in this corner, I'm going to go straight up. And then also tie it off on the top here. So I can remove this with an air saw. I'm also going to cut along this line here. This removes the material so we can get a taillight fuel filler in there. Now that this is all cut out, we have room to put our first bracket in. It's going to wedge in like this, and this lip is going to tuck underneath this lower lip. Like so. The bracket's going to sit nice and flat against the back of the stake pocket here. And then you know that's where to drill your 2 holes. With the bracket sitting nice and flat against the back panel, we can drill these 2 holes, which are 5/16. We are going to have to remove some material on this lower pocket where the taillight would normally clip in. I'm just going to follow these natural lines here. So I'm going to make a cut here, here, and just clean this up. From these lines here, I'm going to go straight back to this back panel. Back at the bench here, we have this lower support bracket. We're going to take these plastic nylon bushings. We're going to insert those into the holes here. This one's going to go on the top. And this one with the flange is going to go the opposite way. And that's going to go underneath here, like so. Go ahead and take your supplied screw and press it through the bracket and the bushing. Like so. Take the lower one, press it on. So it should look like this. We also give you a supplied nylon lock nut to install. Go ahead and snug this up a little bit, not too tight. You need to remove this material to make room for this arm to go into this pocket here. I can remove this material via an air saw. It is difficult for me to film and cut at the same time, but what I will be doing is taking an air saw and cutting a little X out of here, and then taking out piece by piece to remove this section. Now with the majority of the metal removed, we can clean this up with a die grinder, but now we should have enough room to put our bracket and arms in this location. So I'll take my bottom plate, I'll wedge it in here. Lays nice and flat against the back panel there. I'll also take my bracket. I'll set it in place. I'll install my 2 bolts at the top where I drilled my holes. Now that the material is removed for this arm, we can go ahead and tighten up our bracket. Make sure that the radius matches the radius of this back plate. So if you need to, you can just lift this up into position and then snug these two bolts down. I'm using these serrated stainless steel lock nuts. I'm reaching up in behind the box panel and then putting it onto the bolt. Now that we have this bracket snugged up, we can go ahead and place this upright bracket. We've incorporated a nice little puzzle piece on the bracket so you know how to line it up. We can go ahead and drill 2 3/16 holes in the middle of the slot, so then we have lots of room for adjustment. I'm here back at the bench, and what I'm going to do is I'm going to mount this latch in the middle of this slot. Using the supplied screws, I can go ahead and attach that. I am going to place it in the middle, so then it leaves us room for adjustment. With my latch installed and my holes drilled, I can go ahead and mount the upright bracket with the supplied screws. Now that I've shown you where to cut and drill your holes on a fresh box panel that's been untouched on the passenger side, we are going to switch it up a little bit and we're going to switch to the driver's side. We're going to finish our install on the driver's side. Over here on the driver's side, you can see that everything is the exact same except mirrored. We have the same lower plate, arms, support bracket, and latch bracket. Let's continue on with our install. We have two versions of the taillight fuel filler. One version is for aftermarket taillights, and the other one is for a factory set of taillights. On either set, you do have to remove this locking tab off the light. That's as simple as taking a die grinder or a Dremel and removing the tab. If you do plan on using our factory taillights, then go ahead and take your bracket, attach the clips onto the lower part of the bracket, and place it roughly in the middle of the tab. Same thing with the top side. Roughly in the middle. It's attached to the taillight. With this factory screw removed, I can go ahead and take my bracket, stuff it in behind the taillight tabs here, and then put my screws in. If using the aftermarket LED taillights, the bracket is going to be different. The clips are the same, and they get mounted from the back side of the tabs using the supplied screws. You may have to remove some of this butyl where the wires go into the lens. When installing this lower L bracket onto the bracket here, you're going to use these very shallow jam nuts. Sometimes I can take a pair of needle nose pliers and place it in behind so I can hold the nut while I tighten the screw. When you snug this up, make sure that it is parallel with the other bracket. On the aftermarket LED tail light, the same thing applies. However, if you find it easier to remove this bracket to install the L bracket, then you can do so. With the bracket now installed on the taillight and our L bracket, we can go ahead and place this onto the arms. We'll sandwich that in between and insert our screw. Go ahead and put a nut on it and tighten it down. When tightening this down, make sure that this L bracket is parallel with the support bracket. Now that I've fastened my taillight onto the bracket, I can go ahead and function my taillight fuel filler for the first time. If I go ahead and close this, I have a fairly nice fit. We've incorporated lots of adjustment in our taillight fuel filler. We have adjustment on the upper part here. So if you do have a bit of drag on the top, you can go ahead and loosen off these two screws and move the taillight down. If, when closed, you see that the taillight could be shifted either in or out, we also have adjustment in this bracket. So you can go ahead and loosen off this screw and you can tilt it. We also have it slotted on both the top and the bottom to move the lens in and out. But for the way it is, this is fitting pretty nice. Now that I'm happy that my taillight fuel filler is fitting nicely, I can go ahead and attach my latch. Use the supplied screws, and the same thing as before, we have these shallow jam nuts that we can put in from behind. So after installing my latch, I did notice that I had a bit of drag on the latch. It wouldn't close properly and it wouldn't open properly. So what I had to do is I ended up having to loosen off these two screws. I moved the bracket in toward the box, and then on the latch, I ended up tightening it in towards the box panel. Now it latches and closes nicely. I have a good gap along the tailgate, the very bottom, up the side, and on the top. You may find that even with all our adjustment, that the tail light still needs to come down or has a little bit of drag on the box panel. What I noticed on this box panel is the sheet metal actually dips down. Now this is on my particular box panel. It may not be a problem with yours. But what I did here is I took a grinder and I slightly ground this down. So now when I close this, there is little to no drag. I went ahead and I swapped out my tail light to the LED style, and I'll show you that very similar, it fits nice. I got a good gap along the edge here, along the bottom, and then where the tailgate is supposed to be. I can go ahead and move on with my install. When it comes to your wiring on your taillight fuel filler, our suggestion is to take the factory wiring. You can cut the wires off, extend them, and then reroute them through a small passage, and then you'll be able to open and close this without any impedance of the wires. Another part that we leave to the customer is opening up this pocket so you have enough room to run your fuel line. Now, dependent on your gas tank, long box versus short box is going to determine on what you need for a hose. So there you have it. Our install video of our 88 to 98 OBS taillight fuel filler. These come in driver's side and passenger side, aftermarket LED taillights, and stock taillights. You can find these on our website at elsfab.com.